to That Wrestling Podcast.
Welcome to That Wrestling Podcast. The good bad guys of Wrestling Podcast are back talking all things of the week that was in professional wrestling. I'm Brian. We are in the aftermath of WrestleMania weekend, and if you think the wrestling world would slow down and ease up a little, you couldn't be more wrong, my friend. Jason's here, Joe's here. We probably won't hear from Kevin. I think he's on the road, but we shall see if he does a run-in.
Do I need to start questioning his dedication to the podcast at this point?
I don't know.
I like how on Sunday you questioned mine, the guy who only missed one episode, and you said, "Where's your loyalty, pal?"
2 now.
Yeah. No, it was an extra. It shouldn't count. The guy who only missed one episode, and you're like, "Yeah, Joe, where's your loyalty? I gotta wake up in 6 hours. No, I had to be on the road in 6 hours." Big difference.
You had to wake up even earlier.
If you would have known, if you would have been there, you would have known I didn't say that. So, whatever.
No, you did. I listened. But then it was also funny, too, that
you said you had to drive somewhere in 6 hours. And I said, I got to drive somewhere, too.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, no, that was funny. Question Kevin's loyalty. I'm like, my loyalty got questioned.
Yeah, well.
An extra.
The Rivals episode's already begun. We'll see if Kevin joins us. But nevertheless, when we did last speak, we of course did our reaction pods for night 1 of WrestleMania, night 2, and Kevin and I were in shock that Roman retained over Cody. Jason was like a man possessed, hyped over Roman winning. Joe, since you weren't there, as we know, quickly, let's give your thoughts on night 2 of WrestleMania overall, and of course, Roman defeating Cody.
Okay, I'll be very quick because you guys nailed it on Sunday night. Night 1 was greater than night 2. But night 2 had the best match of the entire weekend, which was Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew, by far. Like, that thing is going to be on my WrestleMania playlist for years on out. Now, with Cody and Roman, that could have been, but the ending doesn't make it rewatchable. So it was a great match. I understand why they did it. I don't like it. I thought it was a great way to end the story. They have something else planned. Hopefully it works out. But it ruined the fact that it's not a rewatchable match now.
That's not true.
How you have those but yes, it is. I think it's
not.
How many times have you rewatched Brock versus Undertaker WrestleMania 30?
Quite a bit.
You haven't seen? I haven't, because it's like the shock value.
That is
coming, so it kind of takes it away.
That is what's wrong.
It was a great match, though. The
internet wrestling community. They all think they have the answers. Well, guess what?
Oh, you sound like Bully Ray.
That match close enough, you'll see me all through the match on the rail.
I saw you a lot.
Oh, so now we have to watch it back. Did you see Jason, Joe, live?
Yes,
I didn't see. Okay, I didn't see
so many times.
You can't miss that jacket.
Right. you were standing up just to make a point that I'm surprised I didn't see you when Cody was sitting in the ring looking all dejected. You sitting in the back going, I was right.
I can't believe they didn't put up my lower third, but that's a whole nother story for another time.
Brian,
that's your thing. That's your beef with production. So
clearly.
No, I thought it was a great match, but I didn't like the ending. But you know what? It kept me invested. I didn't text throughout the whole thing. I wasn't online. I wasn't doing anything. I was just watching the match. And then all of a sudden, as soon as the 1-2 solo hit the spike, like text messages from you guys and everyone else who I knew was watching WrestleMania, and I'm like, I'm just going to bed.
There it is.
So I'm not thinking too much of it.
The one thing that I did not bring up this weekend was watching Hell in the Cell from 15 feet away. It's not a good place to be for a Hell in the Cell match live.
Is it just because you can't see through the cage?
Well, it's the support, the beams in the middle of the pieces that hold pieces together. And it was hard to see. And a lot of it happened on the other side over by the announce table. But I mean, it was just a spectacle. You know, my wife wasn't really feeling it, but we got a great Edge entrance. We got a great Balor entrance. I mean, when Balor got split open, I don't know if you've seen his post on Instagram. He's got some nice staples running through the middle of his head like a zipper. But I didn't.
Did you see Sheamus's reply to it?
I don't think so.
When
Pints?
Balor went to
Question mark?
14 staples. His response was, "It's called an Irish cut."
Gotcha. Also, I didn't talk about me and Stephen Amell. Night one.
That was night one.
He was a couple rows in front. And he was super cool. Heels is returning this summer. I know both of you still haven't watched it, even though I've told you to watch it many times. But as we established a couple weeks ago on this pod, that's par for the course. You guys just don't listen, and you should.
Who's talking?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You do want to tell a story too about
who dis?
About your tickets on Sunday.
Yes.
Is that in reference to Hell in a Cell, or is there more to this?
No. So, I mean, it's no secret if you've watched on social media, I have really good seats. Now, I have a Connect who helps make that happen. Not like the one that Green Kool-Aid Man has, but I have a guy.
Right.
And they reached out to me midweek and said, "Hey, I have 2 tickets for you for each night." Now, at this point, the tickets that I had bought last year, I gave those to my wife's hairdresser because her and her boyfriend were going. So they were in like the 500s. I had tickets in the 100s. So, Evelyn and her boyfriend, they had the good seats. So Saturday, everything went as fine. We got to the parking lot. I sent a text. They sent the tickets, squared up. So Sunday, still didn't have tickets. And we get to the parking lot, and I'm like, I don't want to seem greedy by asking for more tickets, even though it said, I have tickets for you for both nights. So we'll just say I get to the parking lot at 2, and I had, a couple Broken Skull IPAs and double IPAs, which I've learned that for me to be buzzed but functional, it's 1 IPA and 1 double IPA. That's for the nice buzz. Yeah. So it's 2:00, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. And the Connect has been very casual with their responses. Emojis, thumbs ups, stuff like that. So I just kept it real casual. Now I said, we're here, but I wanted to see if you had that extra pair. And that was 2:00. So the plan was always to look for other tickets just in case the Connect didn't come through, which if it didn't happen, I would have been okay with because of what, we got 10th row for night 1. So we're looking, having a couple of beers, and I found some tickets that were where I wanted to be with a price tag of about $1,100 for 2.
Yeah.
So that was what we were going to do.
1,100 for both of them or each?
For both.
That's a good deal.
Yeah. So then I said, well, I don't want to buy them yet because if they reach out and say, hey, I got your tickets. So we're in the parking lot, and I see this guy cosplaying as Roman Reigns from head to toe.
Ramen Reigns, I think was his name. Yes.
If you saw my tweet, you know that this dummy had a fucking AEW title belt.
Oh,
that's, bro, are you lost?
Fail. Yeah.
Are you lost? Like the shirt and the thing and the shoes, he was all in.
He was all in.
Except for the title. Except for the title. So I said to my wife, well, let's hang till 3:45. If we don't get a response by 3:45, we're going to buy these $1,100 tickets. So we go back, and it's not a typical like balls out tailgate. Like we were literally just sitting in the trunk of my Explorer, just having a couple drinks, having some snacks, and it's getting close. And then I start looking for other tickets. Like maybe there's something ringside or something closer for maybe like 1,500. So at 3:45, I'm about to buy these other tickets because I hadn't heard from the Connect.
Right.
at 3:44. I get a text.
Saved by the bell.
What do you mean you don't have your tickets yet? And I said, I never got them. Nothing has come. Hold on. So like literally 1 minute away from having to spend another $1,000. Luckily, the connect came through. The reason I thought it was just that, it's proof that patience can be a good thing in anything. So whatever you're in, if you're, a little antsy about waiting, just give it a little time because, things can come through. I'm the perfect example of that. And I ended up in the 6th row at WrestleMania night 2. Yeah, so
absolutely incredible. I'm glad that paid off.
I was nervous.
Pictures and I mean,
believe me, man, I've got
big decisions. Yeah, I've
got a lot that I have to go through this weekend. Now, the plan for social posts and YouTube will. I'm hoping to do a lot this weekend, and then roll everything out per day next week. So Monday most likely will be the FTR podcast. Tuesday will be SmackDown. Wednesday will be night 1. Thursday will be night 2. And then I took off from being a content creator on Monday. And actually enjoyed Raw for the most part. But yeah, so hopefully by next week, the videos will be out. I probably will just kind of do like a clip show, not necessarily I think there's one video of me walking into SoFi and like losing my mind, realizing how fucking close we were. But you'll see that next week. And I said something. Oh, you wanted to get into the FTR podcast?
I did, yeah. So we'll see the video, like I said, maybe on Monday. But you want to give a little rundown of how that was because that started off your Mania week, and that was kind of the one non-WWE thing you got to do.
Yeah, it was the only thing that I wanted to do. Like, WrestleCon's cool, but if you saw the news this week, shit went down at WrestleCon. Fuck Rick Steiner. Hashtag fuck Rick Steiner. And I've done that shit before, and I almost went for Ric Flair to get I have this autograph photo. It's usually behind me, but it's Hulk Hogan is signed, and then Ric Flair in a bloody TNA match. And I wanted to get Flair to sign it, but it was $50 to get into WrestleCon. And then for Ric Flair to literally just write Ric Flair, it was $96. Like no Nature Boy, no Woo, no 16-time, nothing. So I was like,
descriptions, yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm good. So the FTR with Dax was at the Biltmore Hotel, which is where WrestleCon was. And it's this hotel downtown, horrible parking situation, but we figured it out, made it work. And it was wrestlers everywhere. We went and had a quick little dinner prior to the event. And, it was a very small room, probably 75 people, maybe.
Wow,
if
that's cool.
And it was Dax, Cash, Wardlow, Sean Spears, and Will Hobbs. Of course, for the Pinnacle guys, Will Hobbs and Dax have become friends, through their time. So, Hobbs came out first, did about 15, and then Cash came out. And now, meanwhile, and if you're not familiar, Dax is a tequila connoisseur, and there were tequila bottles everywhere, and they were drinking tequila straight up throughout the whole night. So Cash came out, and then, they talked a little bit, and then the Ass Boys showed up, disrupted the whole thing. I was front row for this. A lot of trash talk and insults. You'll see that in the video. Like I said, it's on our YouTube channel, and I believe it's on our socials as well.
Should be.
Then Sean Spears came out. Wardlow came out. And it was just a lot of fun, good stories that you don't get to normally hear. It was about Spears, how, he hasn't been on TV in like 8 months, and he's fine. There's just nothing for him.
Wow.
Then, Wardlow talked about how, he was basically a rookie during the Pinnacle time. And, it was stories about the what was the stadium thing called? Stadium Stampede?
Stadium Stampede.
So apparently when they filmed that until like 5 a.m.
Wow.
And Cash was telling a story that somehow some fans got through.
Oh.
And And they were like yelling, and that Cash was like, "Look, man, if you come any closer, I'm gonna fuck you up. I will beat your ass." And they kept getting closer. Kept getting closer. And he was like, "This is your last warning. I'm gonna fuck you up." So security got these fans out or whatever. But the story really took a turn because MJF was there about 40 yards behind them when all this was happening. MJF comes up and he's like, "So, like, what would we have happened if they would have gotten close?" And basically Cash said Max was a pussy. And he was like, "I would have fucked those dudes up. That's what would have happened." Like, so there was just a lot of that. Like, you can tell there's animosity with Max and through that whole thing because, as we've talked about before, Dax said that the Pinnacle was supposed to raise up everybody, and it only ended up raising up Max. So it's a great podcast. I don't think they're releasing it. I think it's available on Fight if you want to subscribe to the rest. I think it's like a WrestleCon weekend kind of package. Like all the podcasts were there, and it was just a great time. The newsworthy thing that I found interesting because there was a lot of CM Punk news last week, which is interesting. CM Punk texted midway through, and then it basically just said, "Tell everybody there I miss them." So, that was an interesting thing. They did a Q&A, and then they did like a VIP reception after where they were just passing out tequila to everybody. I did not drink any because I had to drive. I'm responsible like that. Talked to the FTR guys about Gino Hernandez and Chris Adams. I've been on this world-class kick. Dax went off about how actually Gino Hernandez and Tully Blanchard were a better team than Gino and Chris. Talked to Sean Spears for a few minutes about, he's a new dad.
Right.
Congratulate for that.
And Cassie. Yep.
Yeah, I can't wait for him to get back on TV. And the line for Wardlow was just absurd. So I was like, I'm out. But I did get to see Quincy Jones and Doc Lesnar.
Oh, your buddies.
Friends of the show. They have their promotion. Winter Circle Pro Wrestling is a show coming up April 21st. So if you're in Southern California, the card is shaping up pretty well. It's going to be a pretty great card. And then Thursday night was that. Friday was SmackDown. My nephew made the trip to hang out and watch our dog for the weekend. And as a 24-year-old guy that he knows about wrestling, he doesn't really follow it. I took him to SmackDown and the Hall of Fame. SmackDown, I had never seen a battle royal before.
That's
live.
Fun. Yep.
And never seen one. And it was interesting. And of course, not just for SmackDown, but the whole weekend, the most over talent for the weekend was LA Knight. And he didn't have any.
Yeah.
LA Knight chants everywhere. Yeah.
Hopefully something on SmackDown tonight. Yeah.
I hope.
That's why I sent you that text on Friday. I'm like, is it coming off as loud in the arena as it was on TV? Because they weren't hiding it. And if they were, they were doing a terrible job of it.
Yeah, it was quite the scene Friday during the Battle Royal. And then when he got eliminated, because he was like in the Final Four.
He was in the Final Four, yeah.
And then he got eliminated. And then we only stayed for Stacy Keibler in her induction. Not that, the Hall of Fame didn't really do it for me this year. So if I was going to go and see anybody, we saw her and then we exited for we just left for the night. Now, did go to the Superstore. Do we want to play how much did Jason spend?
Yeah, we got to play.
Go ahead, Brian.
I'll go.
Exact amount, please.
Yes. Yeah. $229.
Joe?
I'm going to go with $485.
What do you think I am, nuts?
Yes.
Yes, he does.
Well, you were close. $421.
Oh! I win Prices Right rules. But
Prices Right rules, that is you. So,
man, I got screwed over again on WrestleMania weekend on a technicality. I was closer, but
I got the mini belt like I always do. I got this cool shirt with all the different face paint, and then there's more face painted people on the back and sleeves and stuff.
I like that.
I got a couple of the I Was Theirs. I did get the new LWO shirt since I predicted that years ago. I got the white we are the ones, or we the ones.
That's sharp. Yep. Mm-hmm.
My wife got a hoodie, and I think that's it. But it was a little pricier this year. I mean, the big thing was the belt. It was $149 or something. But let me grab it. It's got a cool
for the mini belt.
No, yeah, the mini belt. It's got a cool case.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that is cool. That's worth it.
Action.
Mm-hmm. And then it opens up in the front.
For those listening, it looks like the directors and action.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
that is great.
So every pay-per-view I go to, I pick up the mini belt. I think I'm up to 5 now. Yeah, this is number 5.
So you said you've never seen a battle royal. So you've never been to Royal Rumble?
Doesn't count as a Royal Rumble.
That's
Royal Rumble.
Different, yeah.
Okay. Just making sure.
I've only been to one Royal Rumble, but it's not a battle royal. It's a Royal Rumble. Come on, Joe.
Yeah.
Do better.
Would you count World War III WCW old ones as a battle royal? Because all the guys were in their 3 rings at once.
Yeah, because I think that's literally called a battle royal.
Okay, so I've been to a battle royal then. So I've been to 2.
Yeah, because I think the one Mania where they did the Andre, I was out in the concourse talking to people. So
yeah.
Okay. The Dallas one, WrestleMania 32.
Nah, 31.
31. 31. The one that
San
was Corbin
Francisco
won that one.
or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. So
go ahead, Jay. Yeah.
I was going to say I don't really think we need to get into WrestleMania stuff because
I think
we've already done that. I think.
Yeah.
Now
you guys can go back to the night 1 and night 2 reaction pods and videos. Those are all up.
One last thing. You made that joke earlier about me being on another level during night 2. The adrenaline rush from a WrestleMania is unlike
in your soul
anything. And I purposely didn't say that because that's lame, Joe.
I did though, and Brian laughed.
It was just one of those things that it's just excitement, and it's 80,000 people, and it's like the Super Bowl. And I did find out some fun stats about WrestleMania. It's the 7th largest sporting event in the world every year. Don't know what the other ones are, but to me, it felt bigger than the Super Bowl this year.
You'd think so. I'll get one more question in about biggest pop, biggest reaction to something, anything like that stand out?
I mean, Shane, because it was a surprise.
Okay.
I mean, obviously we know what happened now, but Shane was a big surprise.
Yeah.
The Ray and Dom entrances were next level.
Yeah.
And the Edge, there was all the rumors that Christian and Gangrel were going to be part of this entrance, which didn't happen. Then we had Balor, with the smoke, the smoke flares and being the purple smoke. And there was a little bit of purple in his paint, but it missed the general shock and awe of Roman winning. Have you guys seen the video of that dope up top trying to
I saw a second of that. Yeah.
Fucking idiot. Fucking idiot. I wish Kevin was here because, he's the degenerate gambler of the 4 of us. Roman was like a 2,500 underdog. So if you'd have bet 100, you'd have won $2,600.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I don't know how to do that, but So, just watch WrestleMania and you can hear it. Obviously, there were things that didn't register well because we had dopes running, trying to get along the rail both nights to whatever. This pain in the ass lady kept bumping me from behind, and she's all over the TV. The few matches I have watched, she's just it's what the fuck are you gonna do with that video? You're not doing anything with it. She filmed the entire thing. How does your battery last that, lady?
Right. That's a better question.
Yeah. So if there's anything else about WrestleMania, let's do that now. If not, you can send a DM at thatwrestlepod on social media, thatwrestlepod@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment in the YouTube comments down below us. You can do that too. So reach out. Let's talk about whatever.
It's a hell of a weekend, and the news leaked on Sunday and then became official on Monday morning that for the first time since 1950, under Vince McMahon Sr., the WWE will be under new ownership in a purchase by the Endeavor Group. Endeavor, who's also the owner of UFC, and is essentially doing a merger of the two companies, but they're still separate businesses. And as a result, Vince McMahon will remain in charge of WWE under the ownership of Ari Emanuel at Endeavor, and Triple H is to remain head of creative. But Vince, in an interview with CNBC, was asked if he'd be involved in creative, and he gave a yes and no answer. I'm not going to be in the weeds, as he said, but don't know if we believe him after seeing Raw. The deal will have to get approval. It's not official, but that's expected to happen if it does later in 2023. Jay, I know you've talked a lot, but I wanted to go to you first because
that's fine.
You're the biggest UFC guy of us. And when they purchased, Endeavor purchased UFC a few years back, I wonder if there's any changes as a fan that you noticed, experienced, maybe like a foreshadowing of what WWE fans can expect.
And I'm also the biggest fan of my own voice, so I am more than welcome to talk.
No, someone has to be.
So, I mean, your wife is actually the number one fan, but that's, we want not to get into that.
Wow.
So,
no, it's true. I mean, she's a fan of Jason.
When Endeavor purchased the UFC, it was the Monday following UFC 200.
Oh, wow.
Huge event.
The Brock one.
Yeah. Brock was on that. Yeah.
Brock Mark Hunt. It was
I don't
supposed
follow.
to be Jones DC, but ended up being Jones and Anderson
Mm-hmm.
Silva. Amanda Nunes defeated Misha Tate and won the title there, which started her run as the greatest woman fighter of all time. And they bought it for $4.6 billion. When the Fertittas and Dana White bought it, they bought it for $2 million. So the
little profit there.
So obviously the similarity of they made the announcement the 12 hours after WrestleMania ended.
Just like
when I woke up to 48 text messages from you guys, my Texas guys, and just random friends that know I'm into this stuff. No real changes, like, unless you would know. And for me, the changes that really bothered me about the UFC was it seemed at that point, the only thing Endeavor was worried about was making their $4.6 billion back. And what I mean by that was like, then it was all about super fights.
Mm.
It was all about, people jumping weight classes. The rankings didn't matter anymore. So like those types of changes to the sport of mixed martial arts, to me, was a big deal. Now, anybody else, it's like, oh, you're just a fucking, you're this, you're that. Like, no, like, I believe that sports and rankings and that shit should matter. So I didn't like those. However, this was also around the time that I believe it was the Reebok deal came shortly after or shortly before, which meant no personality for the fighters, no sponsors on the trunks, no sponsored banner that you would hang in the cage as they were getting announced. Like none of that happened after this. They were trying to make it a legitimate sport. So uniforms and that type of stuff. So those were things that I didn't really like. Now, I don't really think we're going to get a lot of change in WWE. I mean, people online are morons. And we're like, oh, of course, the UFC guy beats up Cody. Well, dipshit. Brock is more WWE than UFC. Learn.
So are people actually saying that?
Oh God, yeah! I got a text message on Monday night from a friend who he doesn't watch this.
I'm sorry, I've been off social media because of this for a reason because I like to. I really respect my own mental health, so I'm not going to look at any of that social media garbage.
I mean, hell, Monday night I got a text message. This UFC shit fucking sucks. I'll just stick to AEW. I'm like, okay. I literally hit okay like 5 times on a friend. It's like, shut the fuck up.
Okay.
You don't know what you're talking about.
That's funny.
So I don't want to see crossovers. I don't. We saw how bad that was in AEW. We saw how bad that was in Impact with American Top Team in both, which is kind of crazy. I do think we're going to get more, fighters in the crowd at wrestling shows, wrestlers in the crowd.
That's harmless. That's
tomorrow.
Weren't they already doing that?
To a point, but I think it's going to be a lot more now. Now, of course, tomorrow, if you're listening on Friday, so Saturday, Israel Adesanya is fighting. And when last summer, he did an Undertaker entrance with Triple H, Nick Khan, Pat McAfee, and Stephanie McMahon sitting in the front row 20 minutes after Money in the Bank just
I was going to say, that was the Money in the Bank night.
Because I was at Money in the Bank, and then I walked across the street to UFC.
Yep.
So, I don't want to see fighters in the ring. Everyone thinks that Izzy is ideal for WWE. Everyone thinks Conor McGregor is ideal for WWE, and that very well may be true, but I don't want to see that. What I do want to see is once these broadcast deals end. Now, I may have these backwards, but WWE's deal with Peacock is supposed to end in 2026, and UFC's pay-per-view exclusivity with ESPN Plus ends in 2025. And if I did get those mixed up, I do apologize. I haven't really slept much this weekend. I'm trying to learn about this
and you're not in the board meetings with
as
them,
much as possible. But these two companies are going to form a brand new company
entity,
and it's going to be publicly traded on the stock exchange under the letters TKO.
Correct.
I'm not sure if that's just a code that they picked, or if that has something to do with what this new name is going to be. But what I want is for them to create their own streaming service. Get off Peacock, get off ESPN Plus, go to their own creation where you get all the WWE pay-per-views, all the UFC pay-per-views, all the original programming for a price. Now, I'll ask you both, if that were to happen, what would you pay per month for all of that?
So essentially the WWE network in its original form, and UFC has the Fight Pass, right?
But Fight Pass, everything you had to pay separate, or you went to traditional pay-per-view for UFC.
Yeah, you do pay-per-view.
This was all inclusive.
So
all in one.
Everything, the network, including UFC pay-per-views and everything. I think I would do maybe up to $30 a month.
Joe?
20 for sure.
I wouldn't. No. Not even
but
close.
You're not a UFC,
I'm not a UFC guy.
Yeah.
So
but if that's how
what I typically do with streamers, which they're doing now, they do the year pricing now. A lot of streamers are doing you can get the year, and it's basically a little bit of a discount. So I would see what the year pricing would be.
Yeah.
And if it was if I had to do it, because I'm not a UFC guy, I would look at what the year pricing would be with ads, because again, I'm not going to watch the UFC stuff. So I don't want to pay extra for something I'm not going to use. I might, but as of now, I wouldn't. The only thing that really matters to me, my price point would be $100 for the year, maybe $120.
Well,
Joe, $9.
We may have to be removed from this podcast in 2026. Then, so
I like your idea, Jay. I like the idea.
I would go around 30 to 50 per month.
I don't think people will pay for it.
I don't. I bet you they would, because UFC pay-per-views right now are $79 a month.
Right, and WWE pay-per-views were that much before.
No, they were 49. 39. They were 29, then 39, then 49.
Inflation.
Yeah.
But
that's right.
We'll just say $30 a month times 12, $360 a year to get all of that. That's a fucking steal. And even if you paid for the year, say $300, I would do that too, because that's
25.25
pay-per-views for UFC. And
if they gave the option of just a tier, which is just WWE,
I don't think they're going to do that, because it's the same company now, and they are going to try to pair up these two entities as much as possible.
Well,
especially
we'll
on a
cross
streaming
that bridge in
service.
2026.
Well, if you're still,
it's an interesting idea. If you're still on the show,
well, believe me,
by 2026. By
MJF
2026, I may have missed 3 episodes.
And we'll still be questioning that. I mean, look, Joe, MJF might be starring in fucking Hairspray in 2026. That
I was joking because who cares
Chicago.
about
Yeah, maybe Rock of Ages. I don't know.
Pennies from heaven.
Yeah, fun. We'll get into that. We'll get into that shortly.
Joe, let me ask you because you're different. Jay's hardcore UFC.
I am different.
I'm yes,
Thankfully.
in many respects, but in this topic specifically, Jay is hardcore UFC. I am a UFC fan. You're no UFC. So when you talk about them quote unquote merging as a company, I mean, do you have any? As a fan, do or don't want to see? Does it not bother you?
No, it doesn't bother me. It makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it makes way more sense than the rumors of like Disney buying them. I'm like, oh no, the audience they don't mesh.
Yeah,
they don't
gotcha.
like you don't grow either way. Now you got those hardcore UFC guys who like stick their nose up at WWE. Are now part of the same umbrella. You got hardcore WWE guys who are like, I'm not interested in UFC, are now like, especially if they do the cross streamer, will start watching some of it or seeing things from the past, things of that nature. Because again, Brian, you tried to take me to a UFC event. I went with you. It was the worst event in UFC history, and it was my first foray into UFC. Where the point where, what was it, Dana White the next day apologized for how bad it was, and that was the first one I watched, and I'm like, I'm never watching it again.
Which one was that, Brian? Do you remember?
Anderson Silva. That main event was Anderson Silva versus Damian Maya.
Oh, it was nothing but guys laying on the ground doing this.
I don't remember the fight, but I know I've seen Damian Maya before, and he loves to go to the ground.
Yeah, he's the big jiu-jitsu guy. So like Anderson would do one punch, and Maya would go, "Okay, I'm going on the ground."
And just be like,
"Come on over to me," and Silva would go, "Nope." And I would just kick his feet. And it was like for 5 rounds. So it was
and the whole time I was like this. I thought these guys were supposed to be tough. I could do that and get the pay.
It wasn't. It didn't work out.
I saw Damian Maya and Tyron Woodley, and Maya tried. I think he tried to shoot 34 times in the fight, and Woodley stopped them all, but like 4. So, like, I thought it was an amazing display of defense from Woodley, but I can get someone who's not into it. I mean, hell, I remember the first time
there was an action.
Brian told me to watch. It was before I went to watch. My first UFC event was UFC 16 with Brian. He took me to a bar. It was Brock Lesnar and Shane Carwin. The only reason he took me is because it was Brock Lesnar. But anyway,
Brock,
prior to that, Brian says to me one night, I was living in Ohio. He goes, "Hey, tonight is the Ultimate Fighter finale. You should watch Roy Nelson and
wow, maybe Kimbo.
It was Kimbo, yeah.
Oh
and
my
all they
God.
did was dance. And I'm like, what the fuck? What is this, Brian?
That happens.
What is this? And then
Roy Nelson, there's a name.
And then years later,
and then they sang "Pennies from Heaven."
Fast forward.
But Brian took me. We went to a bar. Brian, do you remember that bar? The name of that bar? We went
it's
to?
called 24 Seconds Bar and Grill in Berkeley. My now wife was living nearby in Royal Oak, and I knew they had the fights. And we went and saw Brock and Shane.
I remember that bar.
It's still there. It's still there. And we went and it was entertaining because like Carwin was beating the hell out of Brock, but Brock survived the round, and Carwin was gassed that he was able to take him down and submit him, and it was a really entertaining 8-minute fight.
Well, what I remember about that, what got me hooked was Brock Lesnar came out to enter Sandman.
That was his theme.
That was like okay, this has a little bit of the wrestling element to it. And, all these years later, I mean, I've been to 30 UFC pay-per-view events. And, if you come to my house, it's like a fucking museum out in my loft. But, we went way off the track until we start doing TWP MMA. Maybe we can talk to the board about that. But for now, I don't know. I'm excited to see what happens, but I really don't think there's going to be a lot of crossover other than appearances. Cormier was the referee during the Fight Pit match.
He was in the crowd at NXT this
this week because Cormier was the only person Brock sat down with this week to talk. He's the only interview that Brock did, which is pretty amazing. Ariel Helwani, the greatest MMA reporter in the world, is doing some stuff with BT Sport over in England. So he talked to everybody this weekend. He had Roman, Heyman, Cody, like everybody. I think he got Charlotte for a while too. Like there is a lot of crossover that could happen. I just hope it's not in the actual fighting or wrestling.
Yes. Yeah. And for me, Jay, I like your model a lot better than the idea of WWE going back to the traditional monthly pay-per-views, which
I don't know what will happen if that's what they end up doing for me. Seriously. Like
exactly.
It's a lot.
It feels like, it's the toothpaste is out of the tube. You've been giving these for me at a great price of $9.99 a month for how many years now. 9. If you want to, yes, 9 years. You're right. Actually, today's the anniversary of Mania 30, which was when they debuted.
Yeah.
If they want to pull that thing for WrestleMania, the 2 nights, $70, I could live with that. But don't tell me to do that for pay backlash and whatever else. So if that were to happen, this might become a flashback podcast. Like we'll talk about old shows. Like remember
what happened when.
Yeah. So there's that. And the other one I think
this week's episode, Great Balls of Fire.
Yeah. We look back at Batista versus JBL. But one thing I think what will happen, which I'm glad about being a fan of both, is I think this will probably eliminate no UFC and WWE on the same night. It's happened quite a bit. In some instances, it's worked out, like for you, Jay, at Money in the Bank, and you just walk across the street. But I think, obviously, you as smart businessmen, they're not going to put the competition or compete against each other like that.
The Puerto Rico show is the night of a pay-per-view for UFC.
See, there you go. Yeah. So
I imagine that'll be the last time that this happens, because I feel like, I feel like there is a good percentage that are into both, and whether or not they can,
I'd be curious about that. Yeah.
And whether or not they can convince the wrestling fan convert to UFC or convert UFC to WWE, only time will tell.
So Jay, who gains more from this merger, the WWE or the UFC?
I actually think that financially it's obviously the WWE. UFC, you may have people that are hardcore WWE and they're like, I'm not going to watch that shit. I don't want to watch that real fiting stuff.
Joe
for whatever
just raised
reason.
His hand.
Or you may have.
He didn't, but he was thinking.
I don't actually know. I just think that there is so much positive that's going to come from this. But the biggest negative for what you just talked about was if WWE goes back to traditional pay-per-view, that's going to be a big loss.
How's that going to work for their interest level? Yeah.
That could, though, bring the return of the bars that are, a lot of bars that
we're back at Buffalo Wild Wings
back at Hooters, back at,
for Survivor Series. Yeah.
So there's revenue to be made going back to traditional pay-per-view, because while I'm a fucking psycho. So while I say I'm not going to buy every pay-per-view, more than likely I would, but you're going to have the people that can't afford $80 every month for a pay-per-view where they go and they pay $80 and have a meal for their family on a Sunday night. That makes more sense to them than spending $80 on a pay-per-view sitting at home. So I think I honestly, like, thinking about this right now, and I know I had that question in front of me, for a day now, but I don't know what the WWE does for the UFC, to be honest with you. And that may be a stupid answer, but you think?
Merchandising and getting more into that market of merchandising and crossing over to not toys in sense, but basically, I don't know, other sponsorships that they don't typically have, and games, and
they have games,
but the UFC games are terrible,
and so are the WWE ones. But I keep buying them, and
they're not bad.
Them, so
but the UFC, but it's but the UFC games are like, they're out there. No one buys them, and they go on the clearance bin like within a couple months, and no one buys them then either. I don't know. I look at it as very symbiotic, as in like they're both going to help each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think,
and what like UFC is going to help WWE with legitimacy with like their fight fans, while WWE is a machine that just keeps going when it comes to merchandising and staying relevant throughout the years, no matter what. So they're going to get UFC to be a bigger name. That they are a big name. They're going to be even bigger now.
Joe, I like your point too. Yeah, I wasn't really thinking about it like on the business side of things, but I see exactly what you mean, and I think.
If this gets me a Mountain Dew pitch black UFC card, I'm fucking down. Give me a fight card with black lights,
with zombies on the cage.
Yes, give it to me. Give it to me now, Endeavor.
That would all make it worth it. I also think UFC gains more, and I'll tell you why. I speak from experience. I think naturally, more people, we grow up as wrestling fans. It's more geared toward kids rather than UFC mixed martial arts. So I think, that's how it was for me, for Jason, for Kevin. I think that could open up some eyeballs of WWE fans who haven't been interested in the UFC before, and maybe, get some more eyeballs on the UFC product. The other thing is that why I think benefits UFC. I think because when you talk about like the fighters crossing over, the vast majority of UFC fighters, other than the heavyweights, they're not big, physically big. You put a guy like Conor McGregor, household name, all that popularity, all the notoriety, you want to put him next to a guy like Drew McIntyre or Sheamus, it's not in the same stratosphere. He is like, what was he usually weigh in at, Jay? Like 155?
Well, he started as a 45. Then he went out. He 45. Won the title there. Went to 55, and then he did the first Diaz fight at 170, and now this, and then went back down to 55 for Habib, and then the Poirier fights, I believe, were at 55 as well. And he's about to come back. And there's talks that McGregor Chandler, which may be at Cowboy Stadium, will be at 170 again. So I don't understand the weight classes as long as I've watched UFC. And I asked Forrest Griffin the question, and he said, well, bigger's better. Because in the UFC, you have to get to your weight, whatever weight class you're in, you got to get to that weight cut. You have like a 1 pound grace period by the weigh-ins, which are usually at 9 a.m. the morning before the fight. The morning, if it's a Saturday fight, weigh-ins are between 9 and 11 on Friday morning. But then once you weigh in, you can get back to your whatever weight. And these guys put on like 20 pounds in a day. And I don't understand, one, how that's fair. But Forrest Griffin's explanation to me was bigger's better. Mm-hmm. So I get it. But like, you've heard horror stories about weight cuts. And, fighters have had to pull out of fights because they could barely walk or they could barely stand because they're so dehydrated. And then, IVs and all these new ways to replenish. And like, I don't understand weight classes. I never have. And even with that explanation from a Hall of Famer, I still don't get it. It doesn't work for me. But you're right, Brian. Putting Conor McGregor in there against Sheamus or Drew McIntyre or Gunther, not going to make sense. But you put Conor McGregor in there with like Johnny Gargano,
Chad Gable,
Chad Gable might make a little more
Finn
sense.
Balor.
But I don't want to see any of that. I don't want to see
that.
So
I think there's a lot of things, and Joe, to a good point, Big Show and Floyd Mayweather worked, and that was a skeptical one. So, I'm sure there's exceptions to the rule, but I don't see a whole lot of WWE benefit to UFC fighters crossing over. Exceptions to the rule. John Jones would be an exception. Yeah, maybe McGregor with the right opponent could be an exception, but I just don't see WWE gaining a lot of that. So again, I would put that in the UFC column.
Yeah, well, we'll have to just wait and see because the sale isn't. It's not even final. Long-term booking, right?
Indeed, it is. In this real life case of the WWE purchase by Endeavor. Let's move.
One last thing.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about Vince's mustache now that it's gone?
Oh, what a disaster! What a disaster zone. I did love the one of like I mean, so many memes, so many captions, and the one that got me the most was like, he's trying to foil Batman's latest plot, or just
I liked,
thinking about like the Penguin, like that.
I liked the one I saw was Vince McMahon still trying to get photos of Spider-Man because he looked like J. Jonah.
Oh yeah,
that was a good one.
Yeah,
yeah.
I like that.
And the other one
with the Major Bison from Street Fighter 2. That one was a good one. And
then he's also trying to rob a bank or rob a train.
Yeah.
Train heist.
Or Brian, you know this one from The Simpsons when the power plant got sued and had to give up that money, the monorail episode.
Oh, yeah.
And Mr. Burns came with the fake mustache saying, we should give it back to the I like that one. It's like, Vince is trying to pull a Mr. Burns.
That's
okay. So let's move on from WrestleMania and the sale, because the sale conversation is going to go on for a long time. And I
don't know.
I'm okay with it. Like,
it's better than remember the uproar of 2 months ago? Saudi Arabia is buying the WWE,
and the idiots ran with it.
Holy cow!
Yep.
Yeah, and
because it was a hashtag.
It all just started from like some rumor on Reddit. Apparently, like every credible journalist said this is not imminent. This is not happening. So whether you agree with, if you're a UFC fan and you agree with what Endeavor has done in their ownership, that's one thing, but that's all cosmetic compared to if you want to talk about Saudi Arabia and the questions that would come up if they were to be owners. So I think it landed a great place. What the valuation was, $9.3 billion. So, I mean,
but the company with the UFC is going to start at a value of $21 billion for both.
Exactly. Yeah. Together. Yes. So, I mean,
interesting.
You can't beat any of that. So let's talk the Raw after Mania. Jay, you were there.
I was there.
First off, we have to. How do we best say this? I guess there's only one word. We have to acknowledge that you were acknowledged by Roman Reigns. Because it literally, we have the footage.
Yeah.
He points right at you.
He does. It's fun being me sometimes.
It's true. Go to our social, and it was because you picked them in the WrestleMania picks. Me, Joe, Kev all said Cody, and you stayed true to Roman Reigns, and he gave you an acknowledgement point. We have the footage. It's
Go to our
crazy.
socials.
So let's start with that, but go into your experience. I know there was a moment that you want to talk about of an old friend that came back for the crowd, if you will.
So during the women's tag match, there was a beach ball incident. The beach ball made its way around when a security guard woman, probably in her 50s, grabbed the beach ball. She got booed pretty bad. She then pops the beach ball, gets booed again, then stands up and hits everyone with a suck it.
Okay, she totally redeemed herself.
I was sitting right there.
Turned.
And I laughed my ass off.
That's great.
And I texted Brian. I'm like, remind me about the beach ball on Thursday, because I laughed my ass off, and it was just so ridiculous. But like, and you fuckers with the beach balls, just stop it. Like, I'm the most anti beach ball guy in the game.
He hates the beach. He hates balls. He hates beach balls. That's Jason for you.
But Raw, it's the Raw after Mania. It's supposed to be the greatest Monday Night Raw of the year. It wasn't.
No,
it just wasn't.
No, it was bad.
It started off strong.
Yes,
Triple H acknowledging Roman, Cody. No one saw Brock Lesnar coming out as the tag partner.
No, that was a shocker.
Which was amazing. And that's what, like, I thought, okay, this is what the Raw after Mania is supposed to be. Surprises, returns, debuts, which we didn't get any. And then, of course, what happened at the end of Raw, Brock beat the shit out of Cody. And I loved it. And everyone's all bent out of shape and losing their mind. And, like, we need that. And
how can people be upset over Cody If he had to move on to somebody else, moving on to Brock Lesnar.
Yes.
How can people be upset about that? Like Brock Lesnar
it's
is
great.
like he's bigger than the championship. I know he just faced Omos in a whatever, but it's Brock.
You can see Brock hitting Omos with the F5 and getting the win on our YouTube channel now at almost 4,000 views. So pretty exciting there. Pretty exciting stuff there. But this is the beginning of the next chapter of Cody Rhodes, the hard times chapter. You know, he lost to Roman. He finally has adversity. You know, yes, he tore his pec, but that was his own doing. This wasn't storyline. Like, he has adversity now. He hadn't lost in a year. You know, this is what Cody needs for the story to continue. I'm imagining it's going to be Brock and Cody at WrestleMania Backlash Mania, but, you know, maybe the winner gets Roman. You know, that's how Brock gets away with the, you know, last summer was the last. And if we're going to get Brock and Roman at SummerSlam again, I am all for it.
Of course you are.
Well, okay. Hey, real quick though, because they made a big deal about this of like that Brock, because of SummerSlam that we went to, couldn't face Roman again.
Yeah, they
like,
said that was the final showdown or the last match.
I had no recollection of that like stipulation or anything, Joe. When they made a big,
recollection, but
yeah, they're like,
we know that
how could he do this?
The person who is in charge of Raw doesn't really follow storylines. Let's just be honest. It was a total Vince show. And I'm not trying to dog on it, even though it was terrible. I knew something was up when the first hour was commercial free and we didn't get a match until like 8:50. And it was Omos versus Elias for like 4 minutes. And then we have more like nonsense. And then, yeah, it's like we had like the fewest amount of wrestling matches that Raw has had in months, and I'm like, am I gonna have to get the timer out again?
It was
like 30, I had to in SmackDown.
35 minutes of wrestling this week.
It was awful. That's the thing that bothered me the most. So I feel like we have to do it again. Go to wondermaneuver.net, buy the merch, make Raw great again. You can get a shirt.
We're doing that after 1 week.
Podcast that I have here. Yep,
I'm not.
Whatever.net, TWP page. Get your own TWP 2.0 shirt. Buy the merch. Make Raw great again. Oh, I was ready. I was ready for that.
We did it once.
We did it once. We made it happen. We can do it again. You don't need to go to SmackDown and chant "Fire Vince" because as a Lions fan, fanning.
Oh no, he froze.
Did he freeze for you?
Vince froze him. He was about to say "Fire Vince," and Vince McMahon jumped into.
Let's make it happen.
Oh, you did freeze. Yeah,
he's frozen now.
There you go. No, the last thing you said was, as a Lions fan, and then God struck you down to say, how dare you?
No, as a Lions fan, chanting Fire Millen did not work. It just basically was finally like when they stopped going to games is when it worked. Yeah. You can't chant Fire Vince when they already have your money. They don't care.
Yes, no, you're right about that. Any reaction's a good reaction. They've always said that. But whether they're booing, cheering, as long as they're reacting.
This will work. This has worked before.
What a maneuver.
We can make it happen again.
Yeah,
TWP
it worked.
By That Wrestling Podcast.
Yeah,
it worked. Just like Roman actually pointed at me.
He did. I've seen it. Saw it with my own eyes.
You can be delusional. So can I.
No, not at all. It's video proof. There's no AI on
Brian
that.
made the video, so
I saw it. It's right there. No, you're right, Joe. When the first
there
match
you go.
was,
There you go, Jason.
When the first match was Omos versus Elias, I went, "What? Wait, what? What are we doing here? Don't you want the crowd to enjoy the show?" We had that. We had the Seth that was just a sing along. Jay, you don't sing, so
I don't sing.
How long was that? You're just standing there.
It went to commercial, and then he just walked away. Now reports are that he went out, and when he got out there, they said, "Hey, we're cutting this segment."
Right.
So, like, if this whole Vince ran Raw thing and format sheets were coming throughout the show. I mean, only time will tell because apparently Rollins was supposed to get interrupted by Pretty Deadly.
That would have been fun.
Oh, I was so
because they're fun characters.
Those guys make me laugh. I'm so entertained by those guys, and I mean, I don't know what they'll do main roster, but still, it was
yeah.
So the set thing, it didn't really like. They're like, what was that for?
Yeah,
just for the crowd during the
watching
commercial
on
break.
TV.
I didn't even watch
that. There was
the women's number one contender match of the
two
teams that lost.
Beach Ball Mania. Right. That's what that was. That's what
happened then. Yep.
But we also like the next day, my wife pretty much nailed it when she went, Triple H told us this was going to happen. He said, nothing is changing. Everything's staying the same. That was his way of saying nothing is changing. We're not moving forward. Vince is back. That's what she took out of it. She's like,
but Meltzer reported
he warned us.
Meltzer reported Vince ran Raw Monday and Triple H is going to run SmackDown tonight. And it's like, let's see who does it better. Maybe for the new ownership, or maybe Vince was just trying to show how big the grapefruits were by, jumping back in that chair. And I mean, there are so many things we don't know, and I don't know. Right. I mean, the internet's trash. So let's just give it a chance.
Yeah,
that's my thing.
I'm not.
Let's just
jumping
give it a chance.
ship after one Monday. It was
a bad show. We can all agree with that. Yeah. And I felt bad they were there.
Good start, good finish. Jay, to that point, I think there's a couple of factors on this. I feel like the Raw after Mania, like the aura of the crowd and how that is, I think it's dead. And I think it's for two reasons. Number one, you lived it, Jay. You're exhausted. By the time you go to 2 WrestleManias, and maybe you're somebody else who's crazy and does SmackDown Hall of Fame, NXT. Like, I think people are just like, all right, I am fucking tired. Okay, I'm excited, but I'm fucking tired.
What's your other?
I think yes, I think that's number one. I think the other one is just the true hardcore deep wrestling fans are now on AEW.
I can see that, but also the third thing you're not factoring in, it's LA. LA fans show up. LA fans, they're more worried about being at an event than what the actual event is. I mean, hell, I saw the cast from Bel Air. O'Shea Jackson Jr. Was actually who Roman pointed at, not me, but I was in the website, so the video works that he pointed at me, and someone actually believed it on our YouTube channel, but that's besides the point, or on Facebook.
That was me.
It's a full. It was a full. I mean, it could be all three of those things, and obviously, the direction change if that's what's going on here. So we'll find out what happens on SmackDown tonight if you're listening on or watching on Friday, and of course Monday. I don't know where Raw is on Monday, but I'm hoping it's a big wrestling city because they need that crowd because LA was not it.
No, I could think it's any and all those factors. And Jay, you talked a little bit already about the Brock and the hard times that Cody's going through. There's a lot of speculation. That's the route, right? It's the Cody's got to go through the hard times. So, Joe, now that we're maybe seeing down this path, do you think that's the right choice, or would you still have had Cody win at Mania?
I would rather had Cody win at Mania, but if he doesn't, I can see them, and I think I sent you guys a text message too, doing the John Cena after he lost to The Rock route.
Yes, that's similar.
That one,
build it back
like
up.
The year-long journey where it's like, Cena was like, I'm losing everything, even though you beat Brock, you won Money in the Bank, you were winning all these matches, but you're at these hard times. It's like Cody does need, I was afraid that Cody was going to turn the Daniel Bryan route of after he won at Mania 30. He feuded with Kane, or after the Dean Ambrose route where he finally won and he feuded with Dolph Ziggler. So I guess building him up even more could complete the story better, but Mania 39 in Hollywood, I mean, it's a storybook ending that they didn't do. I guess Mania 40 is bigger because it's 40. I don't know.
Right. It was deflated. If I could do the juxtaposition, me and Kevin just like, wow. And then Jay, who had Roman, of course, just like, yeah, it was the best. It was so good.
Going back to the extra, Jason saying that oh, I had Roman. I'm the best picker ever. Even though you admitted that you tried to tank it. So, was that
except
for that tank it, or was it except for that one?
No, I knew I didn't need more shirts, even though I bought more at the Almond sale this week. But I purposely picked what you guys didn't, but I really did feel Roman was going to win. So
yeah, I thought there was a chance. I was still surprised.
Brian, you said I only got 2 right out of the whole weekend. Is that true?
I closed the file. It was like 2 or 3. It wasn't good, man. I was like, what is going on? All your picks.
I felt like I should have got extra points for getting only one to pick Ray.
You did have Ray. Yeah, we all had Dom. Otherwise, who knows? And
not important.
I'm the winner.
All I know is you're
right. It doesn't matter.
Yay, Brian.
Won. Shirts are on the way. Thank you.
Brian won via technicality on a tiebreaker.
Yep.
But we still had the same amount of wins.
Yep.
Oh, wait, is that what it came down to?
It was a tiebreaker.
It was.
I didn't know that.
It came down to the night guesses.
Same amount of wins. It was it was the tiebreaker of the night guesses. So technically, I have guessed the most amount of wins 3 years in a row. But that tiebreaker got me this year.
Wow. I know how to book a 2-night Mania and put what matches.
Yeah, good luck.
Night. I'm good at that.
You were being lucky.
All right,
you screwed me again, Brian.
So to get back
I'm glad
on
Brian won because he needed more shirts.
Yes, if anyone does, do not. It is me. To get back on topic with Cody. So what I come back to is what Dave LaGreca said on Busted Open because he was furious.
Absurd. So absurd.
At his point, and I alluded to this in the post show, saying I'm worried this is Lex Luger beating Yokozuna by DQ after the whole fucking Lex Express that we're gonna get this new champ, and it didn't happen. And I'm worried for Cody. I'm worried. I'm legitimately worried. And LaGreca said it best of just like, yeah, we want to make it a bigger moment. And he said, what fucking moment is bigger than the main event of WrestleMania 39?
Well,
WrestleMania 40.
I mean, that's my question, guys.
One thing that's wrong about that. Lex Luger in 1993 was in a bad place mentally. Cody Rhodes in 2023 is the poster boy of all media appearances and doing all things.
You would think so.
It's not like it's a business standpoint. You don't take a guy who's like the golden goose of Cody Rhodes who can make any appearance and look classy in this new merger and say all the right things and do all the right things for the kids, the charities, and the media events. There's no way it's Lex Luger. LaGreca, you got upset. It happens, but you weren't thinking.
Yeah. Well, obviously, Triple H remembered the throne breaking incident.
I really think that was like 5% of the reason for Roman when he said that motherfucker. I'm gonna get him for doing that shit. I know it. No one can convince me otherwise. I totally believe that. I mean, the reaction was strong, not just from the fans, but it's Amanda Huber, Brody Lee's widow.
Mom.
Yeah, there's -1 in the front row getting the weight belt.
Who jumped?
Yeah, who jumped?
The second AEW.
I mean, he has an AEW contract, so yes. I mean, technically.
-1 is all WWE. I think I saw the graphic. And I thought she tweeted right after the match, like, that was the wrong decision. I mean, people were hurt.
I did not tell you.
Prinze Jr. said it was the wrong decision too, and that's like, Jason's guy, WWF.
Saw Freddie Prinze Jr. at Raw. Also saw Ricky Starks at WrestleMania on the escalator.
Did you tell him that
together?
Yeah, did you tell him that you sat at the hibachi table with him on the cruise?
That guy, after all the shit he caught at the Royal Rumble from
for
the
being
security cam, I just was like, I said, because I tapped Michelle, I said, hey, look. Because she knows who Ricky Starks is from the cruise, from the hibachi table and the photo session.
The hibachi table.
And he's a good-looking dude.
Hibachi.
Ricky Hibachi Starks, he's now known as.
Yeah. So
happy birthday.
Well, speaking of Starks, can we get into AEW and what happened right off the?
One last question on that before we get to it. So,
wow.
No, just talking about
natural transition there.
Big stuff, though. This is a lot happening this week. Does Cody
too big for one night?
Does Cody have to beat Roman eventually? Does he have to, or maybe like the titles split and he wins one and that's cool? But if you're booking, what show would you do the rematch? Would you go to SummerSlam, Mania 40, something else? How would you plan that out, Joe? First off, does he have to beat Roman?
He has to beat Roman.
He has to.
Anything else is just like secondary. It'll be if he beats somebody else, that means that he beat a transitional champion, because the way Roman's reign is going, anyone who doesn't go a year is a transitional champion
at this point.
So he has to beat Roman. And as much as it bothers me because I don't want to do another year of this, it has to be at WrestleMania 40.
Unreal. Another fucking year. Jay?
Yeah, but the thing is, he's never on TV, so they can still build up the IC and the US.
I know, but I don't want to build them up anymore. I want the main event. Go ahead, Jay. I mean, does Cody have to beat Roman at this point? And when would a rematch be? Obviously, they're going to rematch eventually.
Cody Rhodes goes against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania Backlash. Up for grabs, a shot at the title. He wins. He beats Brock. However, Brock doesn't really give a shit about losing at this point. But
no.
The rematch happens July 25th, Madison Square Garden at Monday Night Raw. Cody says, I only want the title that my father did not win. Cody wins. I mean, the build, the ratings pop for that night, midsummer, would be huge. He wins, and then because then a week and a half later is SummerSlam.
Right, let's say.
So we get the third match of the three, or there's something where Cody goes one way, Roman goes the other, and we just go on our way to SummerSlam.
So so we'll see how it plays out. I like, because Jay's thinking we're rolling along, and by summertime we're getting it, and Joe's thinking I'll talk to you in a year when Cody and Roman rematch again. Holy fuck, I don't know if I have the patience for it, but
I really think this is the last time that any of us should mention The Rock, because I think he's done.
I'm done.
I haven't mentioned him in months.
I'm done. Well, if he didn't do it this
time. I said it Sunday, and I think we're done.
That was a great
Monday. I think so too.
Yeah.
He's turning 51 next month, so.
Yeah. And there was a great online. If you remember the Super Bowl, which was in SoFi Stadium, he showed up for that to do like it's the Super Bowl.
Year.
If you smell, yeah.
Not 3 months. Not 3 months.
Yeah,
ago,
not 3 months ago. But he showed up for that to say if you smell. But he couldn't be bothered to show up for the last two WrestleManias. The last one at SoFi Stadium. So yeah, I'm ready to close the book on all of that.
Hey, right. I forgot to tell you. I saw Ricky Starks on the escalator.
You remember? You did tell me. Hibachi Starks. Shit.
But speaking of Ricky Starks, let's talk about what happened to Ricky Starks on AEW Dynamite this week.
Yes. Jay White debuted. He attacked Ricky Starks. That was a guy that was heavily rumored to be going to WWE. He ends up going to AEW, which it seemed curious just because of he left New Japan under like a never wrestle and leave New Japan forever. And of course, AEW does stuff with New Japan all the time. Thoughts on how he debuted attacking Ricky Starks? I think that could be a fun feud.
Well, the problem is if you take a picture of Jay White and a picture of Adam Cole, they could easily be mistaken for each other. And I feel like that's a problem. If Jay White went to WWE, the presentation would have been much bigger. It would have been a bigger deal. It would have been like AJ Styles showing up at the Rumble that year. So the fact that he showed up 3 minutes into the show, they beat up Starks. And if they're going to do another Bullet Club thing, because every promotion has a Bullet Club, whether it's by name or not, they have a Bullet Club. And then we don't hear from the rest of the night. So like, I think it was a mistake to go to AEW, but I think that he fits in better at AEW because WWE is the land of monsters, the big boys, the giants. Whereas AEW is the ultimate super indie. And I mean, I love Jay White. His matches are unbelievable. I just think that, he's just another guy.
Yeah. Yeah. It made sense on the surface just because of the past involvement with the Forbidden Door promotion, but I would have liked to see him in WWE. Listen, it can't surprise anybody if this whole rumor of the sale, Vince is back taking over the board, that maybe somebody would go, maybe I'll go try and see what here's under door number 2. And AEW is where he ends up. We also got FTR. They're the new tag champs. Of course, there was a lot of play online, Jay, as you know, being the Dax podcast. The contract being up and everything else. And
on Thursday,
it looks like they're there to stay.
I said to Cash, I said, man, I'm hoping I see you at the stadium this weekend.
Oh, shit. Did you?
And he says, well, we really wanted to go to Ring of Honor, but without the Briscoes, we're not going to Ring of Honor. So
interesting.
And then, like I said on Twitter during the match on Wednesday, had FTR returned with old merch on, I would have thought they were going to lose. New merch.
It was a giveaway, right?
Yeah. But I thought maybe that it would have just been a swerve. The Guns would have won. But, Tony Khan breaking out the checkbook to get Many Men from 50 Cent for the Guns entrance theme. The Guns apparently had an amazing time at Wale Mania Thursday night. People were talking. So, and Tony Khan apparently is a big fan of 50 Cent, and he has tried to get 50 a part of AEW in some capacity, kind of like Trina.
I know. Bow Wow.
And then some of these other rappers, but
yeah, that's all good. He's a big, big like 2000 hip hop band.
And it looks like they are there to stay.
Nelly's going to be there next week.
Yeah.
Obviously, winning the titles and the Vince thing probably played a factor.
I agree.
I would think so. Yep, absolutely. I do love that, at least reading the transcripts of the Dax podcast, how, him and Cash, they were always up front with Vince and vice versa. Basically, Vince, I know you don't love tag teams. I know you don't love what we do. So yeah, I get it. And so you see that Vince is back in charge. Maybe not the spot for you. The other thing was the huge announcement from Tony Khan. I mean, enough with the huge announcements.
It actually was, though.
Yeah, this one I agree was a big announcement.
It's a huge announcement, but the tactic of promoting it for like 4 days ahead of time, was it really worth that?
They're just trying to get the WrestleMania bump. They're just trying to
exactly.
I'm sorry, but yeah.
What? Yeah.
I'm just laughing at the huge announcement, and my wife does not watch AEW. So she was up when the huge announcements came on, and this was her response. She went, "What's with that guy's eyes?" So I just had a flashback to Tony Khan for the first time.
What I can't figure out is why Adam Cole is always the announcement guy. It was Nigel McGuinness.
Yeah.
Then it was Adam Cole. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
To prevent booze. Because where was Dynamite last night?
Long Island.
I don't remember. Long Island.
How do you not remember?
Well, I was late.
There was a 40-minute sketch for that.
I caught up later.
Segment, whatever.
No, so they had a good crowd, but it's tough to be like, the huge announcement is we're going to England, and the crowd be like, okay, I'm in Long Island.
So All In, the second All In is going to be at Wembley Stadium in August, which is great. Deal. And that is a big deal.
It is. Yes.
So, I mean, it's about 90,000. Do you think AEW is big enough to fill 90,000 seats? Even if it's 60, we'll even go 60 just because of production and all that. Do you think that's possible?
Yeah. That's tough to say because I don't know how England watches AEW and is consuming it and how they're doing.
It's possible because they consume wrestling. They love wrestling.
Certainly. And and the fact that it's their debut is big. Yeah, it's not, we've been here for a couple of years. This is our first time on soil. I think if they were to get about what SummerSlam got in Nashville when we were there, which I think was like 50,000, maybe 60, that they should consider that a huge win. So to that
what
question,
did Kane say?
What did Kane? Yeah, what did he say?
Yeah, what did Kane say? He's the one who announced it.
Yeah, I don't remember now. Yeah, 89,000 or something, but a half the stadium.
But half the stadium empty.
Yeah, so. I'm not there. So guys, because they need to fill up a big ass fucking stadium. What would you book as the main event for that show?
I think that Phil Brooks, CM Punk is under contract. I think that's the play. Or if the rumors are true that Bayley asked for her release, Bayley and Sasha.
Oh,
as the main event of AEW.
Yep. I think Forbidden Door we get Mercedes. I think we get Mercedes at Forbidden Door. Maybe not even the main event, but one of the main events. But I think we're gonna get. I think we're gonna get CM Punk. I think we get Goldberg. I mean, I need to laugh and boo and whatever you think, but Goldberg is a big ticket item. Sting apparently won the WCW title at Wembley Wembley Arena like 30 years ago. So talks of Sting's retirement match, probably against Darby Allin, I'm guessing. I mean, there's a lot of ways we could go, but I do think CM Punk is in the main event of All In. I don't know against who yet, but I think it's CM Punk.
I do.
Okay.
I was thinking CM Punk as well for this. Okay. It's got to fill with Phil. And CM Punk, Kenny Omega, main event.
Okay.
I don't know if Punk can keep up with Omega.
I want to see,
but it's a story, and it's the animosity of the scrum.
Yeah, maybe.
I want to see Kenny Omega versus Larry. Imagine the t-shirts you could print with that. Okay. No, here's my match. And I, of course, I thought about if CM Punk would be back, maybe we put him in, but I'm not putting him in for my main event. My main event is a fatal 4-way of MJF, Moxley, Kenny Omega, and Jericho. Champion and 3 former champions, fatal 4-way. I feel like AEW has not done some sort of multi-man main event. It's always been singles matches.
I think we're going to get that at all.
We're going to get that with
this might be. You're right. This might be the one with the pillars. Yeah, that makes sense.
But Brian, I like what you're doing because you've got people from all different factions.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I was trying to work in Danielson in there, and I said, well, no, he hasn't been champion. So that's why I put Moxley in there. So we got MJF, Moxley, Kenny, Jericho. 4 huge names for AEW. Let's put them all at once and make it big and go from there. Yeah, so it's exciting. They're doing that, and then the next weekend is All Out, is what I read.
Oh,
so they're doing All In.
Labor Day, Memorial Day weekend.
Exactly.
Oh, that makes sense.
I don't know if they're going to do. I haven't seen what this Wembley show will be as far as if it's on pay-per-view and then the next week they're doing a pay-per-view or if it's going to be, TNT, who knows? I haven't seen it yet. But yeah, that's going to be exciting to see how that plays out. And it's going to be a big benchmark for AEW as far as how they're going as a business, especially overseas.
Yeah.
All right. Quickly, before we say goodbye, we're going to say rest in peace. Oh, Jay, we'll start something else.
Go ahead, do your rest in peace, and then
rest in peace to Bushwhacker Butch. He passed away earlier this week. Bushwhackers are a team that we all grew up on, and while they never, at least in WWF, never had like championships or anything like that. The fact that they were over enough for just their entrance, right? Just the everybody knows. Yeah. That's it. So, rest in peace to him. That's a team that we all watched growing up.
But watching them as the sheep herders would give nightmares.
That's what you would hear about. How
way
hardcore before hardcore was hardcore.
Exactly.
And then they went to WWE, and it's very similar to putting Dusty in the polka dots.
Yes. Yeah.
And they made it work. So, I think Butch was the one that him and Hogan were pretty chummy, and like they would always be at the beach shop and doing appearances. But before we go, Brian, can I get 60 seconds on the clock, please?
Oh, yeah, good idea. We haven't done one of these 1 minute remainings in a minute, and I will gladly do that for you. Ready when you are, my friend. Should I count you down?
3, 2, 1, go. NXT Stand and Deliver delivered. It was amazing. All the matches were top notch, but the main event, passing of the torch, Braun Breaker, Carmelo Hayes. We thought that was the end. We thought we were going to get Braun on Monday night, but Tuesday, Braun attacks Carmelo. So now we've got heel Braun Breaker, face Carmelo Hayes, which is going to be an amazing feud. But 2 matches, match of the year candidates. Go watch them right now. Dragon Lee and Nathan Frazier, and Axiom and Wesley, 2 match of the year candidates from NXT television this week. Stand and Deliver was amazing. NXT television was amazing this week. And that is my 1 minute remaining. I'm out.
Called the 46 seconds remaining. That was great, buddy. Nice job. Yes.
He's got 14 seconds of Joe Sucks.
Joe sucks, Joe sucks, Joe sucks, Joe sucks, Joe sucks, Joe sucks.
I'm not running the clock.
I'm sorry. Are we reading our text messages from 2 nights at WrestleMania?
Yeah. That's how it goes sometimes. No, yeah, NXT is doing really well right now.
Give it a chance.
Yes, Braun's spear on Carmelo popped me on Tuesday night. It was fantastic. So, yeah, I'm ready for him on the main roster, but this is going to be a nice.
I didn't see it coming Tuesday. I did not see that. Like, I thought this was just going to be it. Handshake,
sand
respect.
off. Yeah.
But it's just interesting because Carmelo Hayes' character is not about respect. It's all about himself. So I'm interested to see what good guy Carmelo will be.
And if they're not going to call it Braun, try him out as a heel.
Yeah,
that's what you do it.
Yeah, he really hasn't been that much.
If they're not going to call him up, then let's see new Braun in NXT as a heel. Let's see how that character plays out.
Yeah, and it hasn't been that much.
And it's Stand and Deliver. We got Ava Raines' debut in the ring with the Schism and Chase U. Nice little swerve there. They thought Duke was gonna go to the Schism. He put the shirt on and then hit the U and cleaned house. 2 members of Schism apparently have asked for their release. And I love Chase U. Love the U.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, we've covered quite a bit on this week's episode. Of course, guys, check out our YouTube page. A lot of great video from Jason's WrestleMania.
And more to come. More to come.
Make Raw great again.
Thank you. Thank you for the positive vibes, Joe. We'll see how SmackDown is later on tonight. But it is youtube.com/thatwrestlingpodcast at thatwrestlepod for all the socials. A lot of fun social stuff. This whole WrestleMania weekend, and what a maneuver for that merchandise, as you said, Joe.
.net. What a maneuver.net.
Yes.
.net. What a maneuver.net.
To make Raw great again. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I'm Brian. That's Joe. That's Jason. Have a great week, and as always, enjoy wrestling.
Fuck Rick Steiner.
Thanks for listening. Follow That WrestlePod on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube.
1, 2, 3. That's it.
Thanks for watching That Wrestling Podcast on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. And for more That Wrestling Podcast content, follow @ThatWrestlePod on social media.